probably know this street better than I do. Do you know this street called Kensington Street?
I'm aware of it. Yes.
Bro, they had some guy with a camera walk down Kensington Street, and everybody on there looked like a zombie. They were like on heroin and bent over and laying on the floor. I was like, what the? Looked like a war zone. Yeah, it was very sad.
It's bad.
Whoa, what up? What up?
It looked like our hotel room.
Okay, let me back up. Let me back up. I haven't talked to Road Dogg in many years. We don't see each other that much. We don't keep in touch that much. But we're like old school wrestlers. Discos probably has a lot of friends like this too. That even though you don't see each other for years, when you do see each other, it's like nothing ever happened.
Amen.
But I do want to say this, Road Dogg. For 3 or 4 years, we literally ate, smoked, chopped it up. We're in each other's rooms, bro.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, I'm serious, because you know how my temper was back then.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for you, X-Pac, and Ron Killings, I probably would have killed somebody. Okay. And also got to give shout outs for keeping me sane to Jeremy Borash and Samoa Joe.
And I got hot news.
Wait. Before you give the hot news, I'm going to give something that's going to pop Road Dogg. I'm not going to say names, but one of my favorite lines of all time, and let me set this up. 2 guys are walking down the hotel listening to doors to see who's in there. They figured out who was in the door that they were looking for, and they knocked and said, "We don't want to come in and hang out. We just want to hit that."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's me. That's me, big dog. I had to get real.
Bro, I know. That's why I love you. Now, what's your hot news, Di?
Well, now that Cross is on the main roster and Hunter's running the show, guess who is going to work on the main roster now?
JB.
Yep.
Really? Is that
I guess
right?
he starts this week. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. You've worked. So let's talk about that. Start off hot.
Are you laying in your bed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hang on, man. Do you guys? My volume good here?
You're fine, man.
I'm fine.
Yeah, I can hear you. You're just laying in your bed, and it makes me uncomfortable.
Go ahead. I always do it from a position of comfort. I'm not one of these
underage males in the room with him.
One thing me and Konnan do not have, okay, that every other podcaster has. They will have one of 3 things in the background, okay?
Oh, are you talking about my pictures?
Anybody, any professional wrestler, Mark podcaster, any of these people that do this, right? Probably 85 to 90% of them have action figures. Toys, okay, like toys in the background.
Yeah,
50% of the wrestlers have, like what you have, pictures of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay,
Those
and then
are
a bunch of people, and a lot of people have.
I really like.
Right, a lot of people have wrestling DVDs lined up visible.
Yeah.
That's like, but we, so I'm from my bed. You get nothing from me. You just get, just get the pillows and stuff, everything, all that stuff. But yeah, but man, bro, let me ask you a question just to start off. How do you like podcasting?
It's very therapeutic for me, to be quite honest, and it's just about having someone to listen, even if it's nobody at the time, but my co-host. But it has been really good for me. Like I've enjoyed it. Now let me tell you this: I haven't made one penny yet, so I don't know if I'm any good at it or not. But
well, you have to. It takes a while to get an audience. Plus, the other thing, bro, is like everybody has a podcast. Everybody wants to be famous. Everybody wants to clout chase. Everybody wants to be somebody. Yeah. That's why I have to put people in their place. Stay in your lane. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But everybody wants to be somebody.
I thought you were telling me to stay in my lane, and I was
bro. You're the man.
Appreciating the honesty.
you're the man. You're the man. But you got stories to tell. You're a wrestler. Yeah. You were in the Attitude Era. You're, you're Road Dogg, dude. That's a whole different thing. I'm talking about other, that have done nothing in this business and think that their opinion means something, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they clog up and they clog it up for us.
There's a lot of those out there.
Right.
Well, this is finally we finally have on this show a former WWE creative member. Okay, and what we review these. We've been doing this. How long have we been doing this, Konnan? 6 years.
6 years.
We've been doing this show.
Yeah.
Oh, let me just say, Road Dogg. This is the thing. You've got to you've got to cultivate an audience. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
You've got to. It ain't gonna happen immediately, but you'll cultivate an audience because you have you're witty, you're informative, you tell good stories. You're likable, so you'll be able to. But you got to cultivate an audience, and you will.
Thank you for saying all that. I appreciate it.
Plus, you're with the Conrad stable, right? So that actually that's a good jump.
Conrad's the man, bro.
That's a good jump start.
There's nobody better than him.
I've heard stuff like this in the past, but I've never really confirmed this or stuff, whatever. But so I've talked to of course, Aaron Blitzstein, mutual friend of ours.
Yep.
I've spoken to him and stuff like that. Like my understanding, the two you worked together and enjoyed working with each other.
Yeah, I loved working with Blitzberg.
Okay,
I called him Blitzberg.
For the people that know who he is, I don't know who he is. Who's
okay, so let me just give you a little quick backstory. Aaron Blitzstein worked in marketing at WCW. He's one of the marketing director and everything. And he didn't really know anybody and everything. So me and Russo would go and sit and talk to him. Like, we liked him. We called him. We always wore the New York Yankees hat.
The Yankees
and me and Vince always used to refer to him as the Yankee hat. And we'd laugh about it every time the game. And he's a funny guy, right?
Yeah, he's hilarious.
So when WCW went out of business, he started doing comedy writing and submitted a writing for a comedy contest and wrote an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. They got second place out of thousands of entries. And what they do is when they find creative people, these talent agencies, you sign the guys, we get you writing projects and stuff. And he ended up writing for Letterman, Family Guy, and stuff. He finally got the gig. I think his first gig was writing the cartoon for the network. What was that called again? The WWE
was
cartoon?
Camp WWE or something?
Very edgy. Very adult. Really. And I guess Vince then brought him in and started writing on becoming part of the writing team, right?
He was on Team Smizdiz, as I like to call it, SmackDown.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. What, we know it's you guys, you write the show and everything, but what type of I don't want to call them restrictions, but were there regulations or things you had to do with, I've heard in the past, not from him, but you had to have certain minorities on the show for a certain amount of time or something. Were there any guidelines that you guys had to follow where okay, we have some guidelines here, we have to put these guys on the show, these guys the women on the show, or certain, was there anything you had to follow?
So no, there were. Look, he stayed a little longer than I did, actually, and so I wonder if there were for him. I wouldn't know, but for me, and when he was working with me, we didn't have any written rules. Now, look, I think it's good that you think about, okay, how many women do we have on the show? How many African Americans? You know what I mean? I think
Hispanics, exactly.
I think that's the right thing to do, and so we did that. If that's what he was talking about, you know what I mean? But there wasn't any written rule about that or anything. Well, what about the restrictions were all usually in our heads about, oh God, what's Vince going to think of this? You know what I mean? And
right.
Then,
so you had
rewrite it 50 times.
So everything had to just you're writing for Vince. We've heard that you're writing. You're basically writing for the one man audience.
Anyway.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: when did you guys have because me and Konnan were in our 50s. How old are you, Brian?
53.
53. So we're kind of we have different. When we watch the show, me and Konnan would sit to say, well, this is not for us. This is obviously for children.
Yeah.
How did you guys have data? Aaron said that you guys had metrics and stuff like that. Was there data that you guys had where you were targeting certain demographics and what type of content you would try to target those demographics with?
So we did have data analytics meetings all the time, but it's. Can
you give an example of what you guys would discuss?
Well, I mean, ratings minute by minute, but also, so it was analytics meeting to gather information to help us write towards a set of individuals or older men or older women. But we at the time we didn't have any women on the writing team, on the creative team, and then so what do we know? Write about women? Just put them on the show and shut up. And so then we hired Dana Warrior, and so at least we had a woman's opinion on there that helped us out of a couple of binds. But there's not any written regular rules. The analytics was to gather information to try to write in that direction. But I don't think we ever really utilized that. I think we got the information. It was cool to have, but I don't know that we ever changed our writing style one way or the other for it.
Who are you? Who is like you a fan of? Like, who are some of your favorite guys to work with? Who are the guys that you had a good rapport with? You'd write the material, they'd get it. Like, this is good, and like you had good chemistry with. You know?
Yeah. So it was I had a guy who wrote for Bray Wyatt. Bray always had a million ideas, and this guy had a good idea of what Bray's voice was, and so he wrote for him. So that was easy for me. But me personally, like Orton. New Day, you know what I mean? Like I loved, and I also wasn't dumb enough to put it in their voice, or wasn't dumb enough to write it and give them something and go, here's what we want you to say. It was always a collaboration.
That's a misconception a lot of people have.
Yeah,
I think they think that every character is given a verbatim script, but oftentimes you see guys that are having trouble creatively with their character.
Yeah,
and they're trying to. You can see them on screen. They're thinking about what to say next. You can see it. You can see in their body language, and they're having difficulty with it and everything. So, but like other guys,
I'll give you a good example of somebody that you just named without naming names. But I'm gonna tell you what I think happened, and you correct me.
Okay.
Like Braun Strowman. I'm imagining that whole puppets and all that was his idea.
Oh, you mean Wyatt?
You mean Wyatt?
Bray
Wyatt.
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt.
I'm sorry. Wyatt. And when I first saw it, I popped just because it was different, you know, and I loved it. And I was able to say, okay, this is a supernatural part of the show. I'll disconnect and join it because it's good.
Yeah.
Then it just totally went off the rails. Now, my question is, were the writers coming up with different than his vision, and why didn't Vince just go with his vision because it was kind of working, or what kind of happened there? Because you had a guy that was mega hot, and here's the thing, and you know this, Road Dogg, it's very, very, very rare when you get a guy that hot twice with different gimmicks and f it up both times. Go ahead. Yeah.
I don't know that I can say anything in retort to that. I mean, if you hit the nail on the head, and truth be told, I think he'll be back. You know what I mean? I think we'll see him a third time. And look, it did get a little wacky. It makes me think, and this is right, wrong, or indifferent. I'll probably get some heat for saying this, but I just feel like sometimes Vince let the writers do their thing, and it's kind of gets successful, and then he feels like he wants to play with it too. You know what I mean? And it kind of goes the way of the way Vince.
Do you think Vince had?
And you just go like, okay, well, let's stay with this because we don't want to just say this sucks. We want to quit or whatever. So let's try to stay with this. Next thing you know, you're doing some of the crap he was doing later in his tenure. You know?
Do you think that Vince had a problem being the architect, intellectual? Being the emperor that he is, and being the guy that step back sometimes and not get involved, that he had to be involved in everything.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he did. Once it gets good and starts getting good. Well, look, he's involved in anything anyway. Like he just was, and that was SmackDown and Raw, and every show had to write and go through him before you got it approved and tweak, and you know what I mean. So
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't know how many times, Road Dogg, I would call Rey Mysterio, and he'd say, hey, can you help me with my verbiage, or what do you think of this idea or whatever? And then I'd go, okay, well, I think you should do this, this, and this. And then he'd call me back and go, oh, they're not doing it, or it's completely changed. The day of, I was
So I remember times, and look, I don't think this is inside baseball. I think everybody kind of knows it. I remember times where we were writing the second and third hour of Raw, and the first hour was on the air. You know what I mean? It's crazy, but
it's very hard to write like that, dude.
Oh, look, I would say it's impossible if we didn't do it every Monday, and you know what I mean.
It's pretty close too.
Oh yeah, it is impossible if you want it to be good and coherent.
Right. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Are you working anywhere right now?
No,
you're right. I've noticed I've seen you online. People that bro, welcome to the world of Twitter with the in the polarization with the WWE fans versus the AEW fans. Like you praise WWE, here come the AEW fans. You praise AEW, here come the WWE. They're on you like locusts, right?
Yeah. It's very much like the political.
Absolutely.
Landscape right now. You know what I mean?
Sides.
Like I just hate you because you're on the other side.
Right.
Holy.
And I know you. I know but I know you're smart enough to avoid these mind traps.
Right.
You're a staunch Republican, as is Buglebeak here, but I know you're also smart enough to know I'm not going to go out there and throw political discussions because it's just going to get me heat from a liberal heavy media and fan. You know what I'm saying? Because I very rarely see you throwing. Because you and me used to talk politics. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to because I think you're well read too and educated on the subject, and so there's something to talk about. You know what I mean? And you and I do know each other, and that's just where we're at in America right now. But your question was AEW, Twitter, WWE, Disco.
Yeah.
You were going there.
So I want to talk about this too. Like we say in this podcast, like Tony Khan right now is writing. He's responsible for 4 shows, and like he's doing all the work. And I was like, God, bro, the guy obviously needs some help. Like bringing a guy like he could use like a Dutch, a Kevin Sullivan, a Road Dogg, just anybody that's had the knowledge of how to write shows before, right?
Yeah.
What do you like? Me and Konnan talked about this. What do you think the difference is? Because Eric Bischoff and Conrad had a pretty good discussion on this, where Eric said he has more confidence in the writing, the way WWE, the structure of their writing, right?
Yeah.
What do you see on AEW, like kind of fundamental errors that they're making, kind of like in the production of the show, and see if you're on the same page with me and Konnan.
Yeah. So look, the production of the show, not the creative, how you produce and execute the creative, but the production of the show is horrible. And I've been very, very open to saying that, and it is, man. From a television point of view, you can not like me for saying it. You can not like me for whatever you want to not like me for, but WWE is good TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you could bring. I know I could bring that good TV and executing it from a production and a camera standpoint to them.
Okay, we're all in agreement with that. We've said that before.
So now the writing and the creative of it, like I just think they have too many people that I lose track of who all they are. They don't focus on one. Like they tell a long-term story, but the only reason they do that is because each guy's only on TV every 4 weeks. So you can tell a long-term story with that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you gotta, and look, I don't know.
So we're all in agreement with that.
Right.
Yep. What was the other part of it?
Whatever.
Well, here's one thing I want to talk about, maybe be specific. When you talk about the production's horrible, I wouldn't say it's horrible, but how many times do you watch a segment where there's an awkward out? Like the segment ends abruptly and stuff like every time. It's like we talk about that all the time. And like
let me throw another one. And here's the thing, bro. That doesn't mean we hate them, because people think that if you criticize, you hate. No, I'm just stating, not hating.
Right. Okay? It's a blanket statement. Right. A statement that is also a fact. And two things can be true at the same time. That's a fact. Their production sucks. Right. And I still love all the wrestlers and the wrestling about
and then,
it.
Here's another thing. Bro, they make video packages that are really quick and don't resonate.
Yeah.
Like 45 seconds long.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's
I think NXT got into that issue a little bit too, where they go, hey, it can't be longer than a minute. And I think sometimes that is too fast, right? If you don't know who the character is, if you're trying to vignette a character in, you're going to have to do like 4, maybe 2-minute vignettes. You know what I mean? Like to really get to know the guy or girl before they start heading to the ring,
That is a weird.
Bro, let me say this. You blow them away. I mean, just WWE TV production is such a high standard. You got to give Kevin Dunn and Vince props on that.
100%.
But the video packages
on those.
Yeah. Oh, so that's a studio, man. And the studio has been doing it for years, but that's under Kevin's supervision, man. So when you say to give them props, I know a lot of people on the internet, well, they hate everybody on the internet, but they hate him and hate Vince. But man, you're right about giving them props, because they have set up a hell of a system there. And if you go around to other companies, everybody kind of follows that system. They try to do it on their own a little bit.
You know when they blow me away, Road Dogg? This is when they blow me away. When I watch, like last night, I watched Legends, apropos to you, my friend. Bro, just all the stock footage they have. Just the way they edit it, the way they bro, That in itself,
I had an argument.
Incredible.
I had an argument. If you watch the UFC, like the packages they do are just like fantastic, right? The NFL packages they do are fantastic. And I'm like saying, like, WWE does packages like that, bro. These guys just have like a couple days to do these things. And like that's a fascinating thing about the WWE production crew is that it's weekly television, no seasonal, nonstop, 52 weeks a year. And these guys, like, you've come out of when is the creative meeting over? By the way. Like, when are you done with creative? You send everything to production.
Day of? You're talking about, or
no? Like, since you go to the writing meetings for next week's show.
So
okay?
there's the issue. You might send it to them on Friday. You might send production elements, but you don't send them anything concrete, and they know it's not concrete because it's a month of Sundays between now and Monday. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So those guys just during the weekends, these guys are producing these incredible videos.
A rib. We all had an inside rib where we say, "Hey, just press the package button." You know what I mean? Because that's what we would do. Like, oh, right there, we need to have a segment. Just press the package button. Hey, we need a package. Here's what we want to say. And in a couple hours, they'd have it to you. Adam Panucci is a guy's name that you might have heard of before. He's been around a long time under Kevin Dunn. He helps out with all that stuff and coordinating all that stuff. Mike Mansouri used to. He's no longer around. But yeah, the studio does all that stuff, man, and they do top notch stuff.
That's the thing that we talk about. The AEW is missing. Is because the one thing the WWE does, there's what is this 5 hours of main. We'll call NXT the show, but their main shows are at Raw and SmackDown, right? Yeah. So their main roster shows are 5 hours of TV, and it's like the people. It's funny too how like the dirt sheet guys and stuff everything complain about the packages. Oh God, we got to get another pack. I'm like, yeah, but what they're doing is if you're a viewer and you haven't watched because they see the numbers. There's a lot of fans that are in and out of the product and stuff and things. If you haven't watched for 2 weeks, you tune in that week before the story comes on TV. There's a good package that catches you up, and you know exactly where you are when the characters walk through the curtain and come out for the next segment. That to me is the main thing that AEW has trouble with. It's like they're assuming that everybody's just watching all their content and everything. And I'm like. There's so many times we review the show. It's like who is this guy? Am I supposed to know this?
I've said that before on Twitter, and people like, you got to watch the All Elite vlog or whatever. And I'm like,
yeah, right.
Bro, can you imagine, Road Dogg, if you're watching a football game and they're like, yeah, go on the internet to find out who this player is. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
I don't want to do extra. Bro, our lives are already hectic enough with information overload and, make it easy for me.
Yeah.
You got two commentators there. What's their job?
I don't want to have to do a research on your
while
characters.
I'm watching the show. Right.
And look, and again, their characters they have just so many of them. How do you get them all in?
How do you develop
them all in?
Sometimes I forget they're even on the show till I see them. I go, I forget they were even on the roster.
Yeah.
Well, look, and the thing is they can't put together a good package because they don't have any good footage to begin with.
Well, let me ask you, we were picking on you guys on this for a while. We have this thing called the disco list where I put people on the list and just
you
whatever.
That but Jericho?
Bro, we were so mad because. One of the angles that popped, we were critical of the show, but we're older guys. It's, you know how everybody watches Raw and everything, bro. The one thing one of the things that
keep it real, Raw was unwatchable for many years.
One of the things
sucked.
Huge.
It's good now. It's gotten better.
It's gotten better, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that popped us was Breezango. When they were doing the Fashion Police, okay, we were like,
Did you hear any of this? Did you hear any of this?
I did. I heard. I remember seeing it on Twitter or seeing the.
Our fans are savages.
Why did they never take that step? Why did you guys never give them the title?
Really? It was a fight every week to get them on social media.
Really?
Yes.
So Vince
to get them on. Well, neither one of them saw that time. Neither one of them felt that they had anything. They were too comical. So honestly, dude, we loved them. We thought they were entertaining. We thought they, all this stuff. True story. We were in Chicago and those guys were working. It might have been for the titles, and I'm not sure who it was against. But it was when I started writing SmackDown, and Vince had been telling me, you got to fight for your show. You got to do this. Well, he came up with a spot. He being Vince came up with a spot for those two guys to go under the ring in Chicago, sold out at some pay-per-view. We did. And and come back out like one dressed as a woman and one dressed as a janitor, like with a mop. And I went in to Vince and I said, please don't do that. Like I didn't see the vision that he had.
Right.
And I told him that. I begged him, please don't make them do this. They didn't want to do it. Everybody thought it was a horrible idea. They did it in the match, and the people blew the roof off the joint in Chicago and started chanting for the mop. Like it was incredible. And it was one of many times where I had to look him in the eye and go, you were right again, you old, because he was right a lot. And that's probably not even what we were talking about. But Breezango,
no, but he might have been right about that, but he was wrong about not, because I know that would have gotten a pop. Because the fans now are sillier. They're more nerdier.
Yes.
They like comedy.
You don't have to be funny now.
Right. You don't got to be tough anymore.
Yeah.
You can be. It's okay to have some humor. Yeah. It's wrestling. It isn't real. Yeah. We get it. So you get going in with that mindset. You understand, but bro, these guys. You could have done a lot with them, and they weren't pushed.
Holy dude, and can work. Like both of them could work. And so
you think he soured on the guy that was a Fandango, and then probably soured on him after that and said this guy or something?
Yeah, maybe. I think he said that kind of to both of them, but they came back down to NXT and had their kind of last little bit of their stint there. We actually had fun with them there, and I thought used them in a good way. I thought we could have used them better, to your point, even at NXT after they came off the main roster. But yeah, just getting them on something was really difficult.
Let me ask you this: when you talk about difficulty with Vince,
okay, you may get off the disco list for that.
Yeah, how many? We already took him off the disco list because he's not in WWE Creative anymore.
That's true.
I want to ask you this: how many guys? How are you like? Because Russo always used to tell me stories, and Terry Taylor told me stories about this. That like the Vince Russo was one of the first guys he ever saw like stand up to Vince when they'd argue creatively. Like to Vince, that sucks. Would tell him stuff sucks. And stuff everything.
Yeah.
But I get we hear the stories of Vince is like they started bringing in all these writers, these young kids, and I just get this vision of like these young writers. Everybody's absolutely intimidated by them. What was your level of like? Did Vince intimidate you, or did you have a good rapport with him where you could tell him, bro, that I think that sucks, or how was it like? What's his aura like, and what type of command does he have over the room, like with the writing team?
Like if he was Satan himself. No, but look. I'll say, as I usually say, I go both ways on this. So look, he's intimidating but I had a good relationship with him. So I couldn't say, hey bro, that sucks. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say that to him, and I don't mean to curse so much. But I could say, sir, are you sure we want to do that? You know what I mean? And I would try to, and then after a couple of times, like I always had a rule in my head to make him tell me no twice. If I felt strongly about something, I made him tell me no twice, but I never made him tell me no a third time. You know what I mean? It was like, and when he controls the room when he comes in, and that room could be full of Oscar-winning actors and professional football players. When he walks in,
he's very smart because he uses intimidation to his benefit.
100%.
He knows he's Vince. Yeah.
Right. And I said this on Sportskeeda with Russo actually, talking about he knows power gestures, and he knows things to do to make himself project power and everyone else project inferiority. You know what I mean? And it's just so, and look, sometimes it's a performance, sometimes it's not. 3:00 in the morning, I could joke around with him a little more than I could at 10:00 in the morning. And so I had a great relationship with him, but he could still come in and shut you down in a minute if he needed to. And so,
yo, what up? This is Konnan, and I host Keeping It 100. My co-host Disco Inferno. Unfortunately,
well, I'd say you're my co-host.
Listen, every Thursday here on Spreaker, we talk pro wrestling, sports, movies, music, TV, pop culture, and some politics. It's everything the rest of the pro wrestling podcasts are not.
Tune in to hear myself, the superior one, educate and inform.
Tune in to hear me bury Disco.
That's very disrespectful.
Join us every Thursday on Spreaker and keep it 100. Boom!